Known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere here in my virtual studio, my living room during the pandemic in Los Angeles, California. And it doesn't really matter where I am because hashtag COVID silver lining, we can do this from anywhere. Yes, we can connect from any part of the world, and you can connect with all the over 100 nations that are tuning in to KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes, and more. And you all know this is a show about hope and happiness because I want to balance out the bad news out there. And there is quite a bit of it. But let's start with the good news. What is today, October the 12th? It is National Free Thought Day. Interesting, because my guest today is absolutely going to help me with some free thought about relationships. And it's also National Farmers Day. And of course, for the deliciousness of life, it is National Gumbo Day. And that's a short opening today because I want to get to my special guest, Dr. Belle, who will help us understand how we get along when we completely disagree with people. When we come back here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa
And welcome back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and more, because I want to make sure you are as happy as you can be. And today's special guest is going to help you with that. She is a psychologist. Her name is Anabelle Bugatti, and she's going to introduce herself to you. And we're going to have a great conversation because she's all about having difficult conversations with people. And Lord knows we have a lot of those going on. So please welcome to the studio, Dr. Anabelle Bugatti.
Thank you so much for having me on. And let me just clarify, because I do hold a license to practice counseling, so they get really persnickety about this. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and my doctoral degree is actually in couples and family therapy. So not technically.
Well, thank you for being. Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. But you are an expert in relationships. You do talk about difficult conversations, and I wanted us to talk about that because in the history of America, I don't think there's ever been a time where we've had as much fractionization and disagreement in ever for America. And I can remember a time where, you could know that someone is a Republican and still be friends with them, or know that they liked or didn't like the president and could be friends with them, or, vaccinated or masked or not masked or vaccinated. And it's like, it's okay. Religion, whatever you want to believe is good. Just don't try to convince me. But those days are gone now. How can we be okay and not do the cancel culture thing, which I'm a big, I push that unfriend button now faster than I ever have before. So help me with that.
Yeah. So it's so ironic because people are pushing for tolerance, yet tolerance is the thing that they're practicing least, right? Because tolerance is something you have to be able to hold somebody else's truth alongside yours and not just end the relationship. So I think when it comes around cancel culture, it's something that we have to examine ourselves in our own hearts, right? What is causing us to say, I'm tolerant, but then when it comes to actually living that out day to day, maybe I'm not so tolerant. When somebody brings a view that challenges my own or is very different from the way I think or feel, what is it about that difference that says, I hold you in my life, I can't be in relationship, I can't talk to you, I can't go to your house, I can't be friends with you at all? What happens right there inside of your own heart that says, no?
Well, I'll tell you what happens. It's the disbelief that someone that I thought had some common sense and had some ability to know what is right and wrong is strong, because that's subjective and absolute. But let me give you a good example. So it's really difficult for me to want to engage with someone who really believes that the vote was stolen, who really believes that Trump, and I will not say some of the nicknames because I'm trying to be good here, that someone who is so outwardly misogynistic and discriminating and says things like, go home if you don't like this country, and, the pee grabbing in the locker room. How can I engage with someone who really thinks he is the cat's meow or the bag of Cheetos to have? How do I, in my innermost heart, have the love for them, or not the love, it's the willingness to engage? So this is exactly what happened. A guy asked me out, and before we made the date, I just said, are you a Trump supporter? And he said yes. And I didn't hate him, but I just couldn't see how I could possibly have a dinner date with someone who's so diametrically opposed to thinking about this important matter.
So
how's that for a...
You're saying so many really good, important things, and they're not what you think you're saying. Let me go into that. So first off, did you end up going on the date with him?
No, I did not.
All right. So the first thing, is you're saying, I don't know how I can have a dinner date with somebody who has beliefs that are so diabolically opposed to my own. And the answer is in the very question. The only way you find that out is to go along and have the date and find out, right? I think the first thing, right, that you kind of said is, when somebody else has this other belief, when I thought they had common sense, it's like right automatically out of the gate, what we start doing is judging somebody else's belief as wrong, as not having common sense, as something terrible, and without ever actually getting curious about their experience, right? Because especially if these are people that you've known for a long time and you do know them to have common sense, it's like, well, maybe they're looking at it from a different side that I haven't considered. Maybe there's something else. Just because somebody said, oh, I voted for Trump or something, doesn't mean that they agree with everything that he said or that they even like him. You may even find that on a lot of levels, you actually agree in a lot of ways. But without being able to get curious and find out what is it that they see, what stands out, how can they hold this piece along with another piece, and get to know what's the real story in their hearts, then, we'll just kind of stand on the edge of the fence and judge and decide what they must be thinking and feeling rather than getting curious and find out what they're actually thinking and feeling.
All right. So point taken. And at the same time, I have done that. So I have sat down, and I'm not going to judge. And these are not people that I don't know.
Sure.
So people that I don't know, there's so many people
on the planet that I could find someone where I do believe and have like beliefs. So why would I spend time trying to understand someone when there's so many other people? So that's one.
So the answer to that would be, how do you grow if you stay in your box and your comfort zone and you never stretch outside? Now, it doesn't mean that you need to be best friends with somebody, but if you have a best friend that you find out has some different beliefs, diverges in thought, you know, it might be more of an incentive to have to work harder on getting curious and holding their truth. And again, not judging what their heart is just because of who they voted for. You know, again, it doesn't mean that you have to be up close and personal, but it also doesn't mean we have to hate them or decide who we think they are based on something so superficial, such as who they voted for. You know, we really get lost.
Let me challenge you on that one. It's not superficial when someone chooses belief systems that go against some core fundamental values that you have.
Sure.
So that's a little different.
What I challenge you at, though, is if you stop only at who they voted for, how do you actually know what their belief system is? That's what I mean, is the superficial aspect is only we hear who they voted for and we stop at that, or we hear that they vaccinated or not vaccinated, we stop at that. That's where the superficial aspect comes in, is that we don't go further to find out what the actual belief in their heart is. So how can we say that we know what their beliefs are when we've not even had that conversation to find out what's in their heart?
But let's say we have had that conversation, which I have had. I call them carefrontations. When I care about someone, I really want to, thank you. I really want to, I got it from Dr. Arlene Hilton. I can't take credit. If I have done that, and it makes it even worse. It makes it where it's like, really, I just cannot believe that you would vaccinate your kids and you vaccinate your dogs, but you will not get vaccinated yourself in order to protect the people who are around you and that you love. So, I mean, we're not talking about superficial stuff here. We're talking about things that I have investigated, done research with, invited experts on. So I'm pretty clear, and I'm not judging them as people. I don't think they're stupid, but their belief system precludes me from interacting with them. Is that so wrong?
Not necessarily. Again, not every person that's out there are we going to be able to have a safe relationship with. And I think that's really about is a safe relationship. But just because somebody believes differently than you doesn't mean that you can't have a safe relationship. Again, part of it is, yes, maybe you've done the research, but have you done the research on them by having that conversation? How did you arrive at this decision? Help me. I'm kind of confused. When you vaccinate your dog, you vaccinate your kids, but you don't vaccinate. That kind of confuses me. And so help me understand what it is that I'm missing, how you arrived at that information. And again, it's really about getting to know in their heart, what's the bottom line? What are they afraid of? What do they long for in the end? And sometimes that's the only way I've been able to stay in relationship with people. And again, some of these are people that you don't have to have relationship with, but you know, if we go along and cancel every single person in our life that believes differently than us, A, we're not really practicing tolerance. B, we're not really growing. C, we're going to end up canceling a lot of relationships. And, you know, for some people, you may not have any in the end, or you'll have a very, very small circle of people who are really just think exactly the way that you are, which to me, I like to have people that challenge me in my life. But some people you also don't have the luxury of canceling the relationship with, right? If it's your boss, you know, and, you know, or it's grandma or somebody that you actually have to have relationship with.
Absolutely.
Or you want to, you know, at least by taking this avenue, it can make something, even when you disagree, and it's okay to disagree, it's okay to keep on disagreeing. Can you just see into their heart, and maybe what's in their heart is the only thing that keeps you sane and holding on through those interactions? That's what you have to go with. And believe me, I've seen some mentors post things on Facebook that shocked me. And I was like, whoa, this does not even remotely feel consistent with who I thought you were. And it feels extremely judgmental of other people and myself, including. And that doesn't feel very good. So how am I supposed to stay in a relationship with somebody under these conditions? That feels really hard. So I actually took it as a personal challenge. Like maybe there's something there that they see that I don't, or maybe I just stop getting stuck in the hay and I go again closer to what's in their heart. Like, what do they consider? What are they afraid of? What do they long for? And that was the only avenue that I was able to get to even be able to stay in those interactions. And I found out at the very, very basic humanistic level, what they believed, what they felt towards other human beings was actually very much the same as mine. They just fundamentally disagreed on how that would translate and play out in everyday life. And I'm like, okay, to each their own, because if it was me, if I was vaccinated or unvaccinated or voted for this person or that person, would I really want someone to come along and judge and cancel me because I had a different belief? Because I felt something different than them. And I wouldn't want that. I would want someone to be able to invite me close, to actually get to know what's in my heart and to say, you know what? I didn't think of it that way. And maybe I don't fundamentally agree, or maybe that's not the right choice for me. But I see on a human level that you're not really trying to be against me or hurt me. You're just have a different way of going about it that, yes, I still disagree with, but okay, at least I can sit with that. I can deal with that.
Right. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I am talking to today in my studio, her name is Dr. Belle, and she is a coach and a counselor to help me today try to move away from my cancel culture, say that 3 times fast. And we're still up in the air because I have a couple more rebuttals for her. So how do you, and it's funny because people call me Pollyanna and hashtag positively opinionated, and I'm showing my 12% of the side. I'm 88% tolerant and loving, and I'm 12% whatever I'm being curmudgeoning right now.
You mean you're not perfect, Dr. Marissa? What you're saying is you're human like the rest of us?
I hate when people tell me that. Yes. I call perfectionism a dis-ease with life. So I'm right there with you. But here's the deal. How do we hashtag be the change and stand against racism and stand against prejudice and stand against Kung Flu and Chinese virus and still be tolerant of Capitol Hill? Okay. How are those two? Because if I go, okay, tell me how you're thinking, maybe I can understand. And let's say we go down that road and I'm being really, really, really trying to listen to Dr. Bell's advice and be as empathetic and as tolerant and as understanding. And I understand where you're saying, and what you're saying is completely makes things even worse. It turns out that you would have gone to Capitol Hill to march, then and it's even worse than I had imagined. At that point, what I permit, I promote. So if I say, okay, you can believe what you want, and let's just focus on something that we have in common, and I love you very much. At that point, I'm not doing a service to anyone by saying it's okay for you to be prejudiced, discriminatory, and think that the way that George Floyd died was okay. I can't do that. You're asking me to permit something that I would be promoting, especially with the platform that I have.
I don't necessarily agree. I don't think it's about permitting anything. I think it's about how to be in relationship with somebody. And if you can't be in relationship with them, there's no way that you're going to help them understand there might be another way. Because the moment you go in guns blazing, think about when someone comes into you and says, Dr. Marissa, you're completely wrong because you took the vaccination and you did this. And I mean,
I've had that done.
What is the first thing you're going to do? Is you're going to get defensive, right?
No, I just cancel.
Right. I avoid somebody who challenges me, right? And I completely
I don't avoid. No. It's not about avoiding. It's about I want to be in the best possible feeling place at all times, at least 88% of the time. And you have an absolute right to feel differently than I do, but I don't want it in front of me.
Sure.
That's my happiness.
That's your right and your choice.
Yeah.
The problem is kind of what I hear you saying. So I'm going to push back a little bit.
Yep.
Is that I can only let in my bubble positive, happy thoughts. And the moment someone brings in something negative, I can't handle it and I push it away. Canceling is avoiding. That's flat out what it is. Again,
canceling is the art of neglect. If I don't look at something that I don't like,
is very insidious.
Then no, it's not neglect. If I don't keep pushing at a problem that is driving me crazy, it's bringing me down into a frequency that is not the solution. If I just think about something else that is happy making, then that'll take care of itself. See, I don't think neglect is insidious at all.
I wish that the world worked that way, because kind of what you're saying is if I think positively, then the problems will fix themselves, and that doesn't happen.
No. That's not what I said. If I neglect focusing on that particular problem, where I'm writing a text and a letter to someone at 3 a.m. because one more time I'm going to say something that's going to make them change their mind, and I stop doing that and just go to sleep or meditate or do something that is not looking at the issue or the problem, then in that good space, I'm going to be inspired for a solution to that particular problem.
Sure, but that's not necessarily canceling them. Canceling them means I shut down all lines of communication and friendship or association. It's not, hey, this is really heated and I think I need to take a breather so that I can kind of recenter myself and get refocused. And, again, kind of the point of what I'm trying to bring is how to stay in relationship with people who hold different beliefs, not how to cancel and go away. Because the easy thing is to cancel, to go away, to say, well, you think too differently to me and I really don't like it. And so I'm not going to let that in my world penetrate my force field. That's easy to do. That's easy. Holding a space to be friends or to be near or to even have a tolerable interaction with somebody who believes or supports something that fundamentally and diabolically is different than yours is much more nuanced. And I think that's the real path to humanity, is how to hold those. And again, this isn't about permitting anything. And this is, again, what I know to be true in therapy and working with couples, because even when you have people come in for therapy, you have two people who diabolically oppose on reality, right? And so how do you bring those two together? Because the moment, again, you go into one person and say, you're wrong because here's blah, 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 blah on the facts. The other person's going to put up their defenses or they're going to shut down and nothing's going to change. And if I want things to change, or if I feel like I really want to touch your heart and help you see maybe how your beliefs hurt or impact me, I'm certainly not going to do that by going in guns blazing, saying, you know what, you're wrong, you're this, you're that, calling them names, labeling them, judging them. What I will get better access by getting to know their heart and kind of how they work and saying, okay, maybe I didn't think of it in that way. And simultaneously, kind of when I hear you say this or that or the other, the message that lands on me is this, and that feels really hurtful. Is that what you're saying? Because that's what I'm kind of receiving in this space.
And there's more where this came from. You have been listening to my conversation with Dr. Belle about relationships. We'll be right back here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and more. And welcome back.
Fun and spirited and illuminating interview with Dr. Belle. Her book on empathy is helping all of us have needed conversations when we don't necessarily like or get along with the people that we're in relationship with.
It makes sense, definitely in a couple relationship when you're trying to save the relationship. I think we're talking about two different things where I really don't need the relationship or I don't want the relationship, which I think has, some merit in, why bring more conflict in your life than you absolutely have to. Sure. So I'm all about go where the love is.
About how to cancel relationships, right? That's not what we're talking about, because again, that's easy. And I don't need to tell you how to cancel a relationship or why you might have good reasons to need to cancel a relationship. What we're talking about is how to keep relationships, how to practice tolerance, and how to be able to take even conversations and interactions with people that might otherwise be very intolerable and find a way to navigate those to where you can at least get through them.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, I have not seen a conversation where, as much tolerance and love and, help me understand, the more that both sides share, I've seen it just escalate. Maybe we definitely need you as the facilitator. So next time I care about someone enough to want to have that conversation, we'll give you a call. How do people find you, Dr. Belle?
drbelle.com. You can Google me, Anabelle Bugatti, but you can go to my website, super easy, drbelle.com, drbelle.com. I also have my video channel on YouTube. It's also a podcast, We Heart Therapy, because therapy is awesome. And you can also find my book on Amazon. And it's about using relentless empathy in the therapeutic relationship, connecting with challenging and difficult clients. And the last chapter is all about how to walk the talk and apply it to yourself. Because it's so much easier to tell someone else how they can do relationship better, but then to apply it when you're the one in that difficult situation where you're with someone who voted for someone that you really are like, oh my God, how did you vote for them? How to walk that talk, again, is much harder than it is to tell someone else.
Are there ever any situations when a couple is just irrecoverably diametrically opposed and it's just time to call it quits?
There are times, yes. And that's a decision the couple has to make. It is not my job as the therapist to decide whether or not they can or can't. Because I've seen couples where, in my mind's eye, I thought, oh my gosh, how are they going to make this work? And they did, right? So it's really not up to me who they choose to be in relationship with. It's up to me is to teach them how to do the best they can to be in relationship and the kind of relationships they want to be in. So that's what I'm all about, is helping people stay in relationships. Again, I don't need to teach people how to not be in relationship. That's a pretty easy thing to do. It's harder to be in relationship, especially when it's with people who just see things
drive you crazy
differently. Yes. I have a lot of clients who have been divorced, who go through divorce, who are getting remarried, who are second marriages, and they want to know that somebody else isn't going to judge them for having gone through divorce. And for some couples, it is the right course of action. And they want to know, again, that somebody's not going to judge them because that might be the right course of action for them. But again, my goal is, if you tell me you want to save the relationship, I'm going to do everything I can to help you save the relationship. I love relationships. I love being married. It was an amazing experience. I hate divorce, and because it causes brokenness. It's awful. But that said, sometimes it is the right choice. And I'm all about helping people learn the lessons, especially if a relationship doesn't work out, so that you can learn and not repeat it, so that your next marriage, your next relationship, you get that chance of a do-over, kind of like the golf term, a mulligan. You get that do-over and you get to do it right. And that's the one that lasts.
Now, I also push back against the whole, if there's one person, because it's like, because if you had the one person and ended up in a divorce, are you like doomed for the rest of your life? That, and this whole idea of it has to be a long lifetime relationship to call it the right relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
gosh, there's so much there. So what I think is both are true. I think that there are many in a planet where there are billions of people. I think the chances that there is more than one person that you are compatible with and could have a happy life and relationship with is extremely high. Do I also think that there are, very like maybe one or two few people that speak more to your soul than anyone else, that it transcends just being compatible? Absolutely. So I think both can be it. It's just a matter, not everyone's able to find that person that they connect to on a soul and spiritual level. For some people, they're like, I'm just happy with good enough. And I can understand both. I just, I would hate for somebody to settle. That's certainly too. You don't want to sell yourself short and settle for less than you deserve, because the moment you do that, you get less than you settled for. That's how this.
That's a great saying.
Yeah. But I think for a lot of people that avoid long-term relationships, most of the time it's because they've been burned and they've had a lot of bad experiences. So they don't have a lot of faith and trust in the process. And I also think people get into marriage and long-term relationships with a lot of myths, a lot of bad information, a lot of wrong expectations, and that sets them up for failure. Like they think, okay, now that I've gotten married, it's like some magic button that now that I've signed that paper that I don't need to work on it, or certain things are going to change, or things are never going to change and they're going to stay exactly like they are, and then things do change. And so people have to recognize it's not a magic blanket that you just throw over you and suddenly it cures you of all relationship problems. It's like when you first meet someone, the spark that you feel between each other is made out of spontaneous combustion, right? When two energy cells get together, it creates this combustion and it's a fire, but still no fire on earth ever burned bright all the time. And it will never stay lit unless you throw logs on it. And I don't know where people got this idea that they don't feel like they should have to put logs on a fire. I bet they think you don't have to do dishes or your laundry either, right? Because right? Maintenance. Relationships take maintenance. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people just don't spend enough time getting to know themselves and getting healthy themselves. So then they end up picking partners that also aren't very healthy. And again, they expect like marriage to be a magic cure-all to magically fix these things. And that's not how it works, right? Things don't just fix, they don't auto-correct through osmosis in relationships. It takes two people working intentionally on it. So I think if people get to know themselves and how they function, how they work, and they get healthy, they're more likely to pick a better partner, a healthier partner, where it's going to work better together.
So in that is the truth where, my husband, I picked because of the damage that I had still not dealt with from my past, and him as well. And so that was definitely a relationship that was better left untethered. And so I'm happily divorced, and I feel like I am happy 88% of the time. I love who I am 88% of the time. I'm not perfect, and I've had to deal with being okay with that and loving myself in spite of that. And I do know that I carry with me a discomfort with, and this will give you, I'm sure you already figured this out from our conversation, a discomfort with debating, a discomfort with disagreement, a discomfort with arguing, a discomfort with being, not being told that I'm wrong, but just I say it all the time, like we want people to get us, but we're not willing to get that other person the way they are. So that, and with that, knowing that about myself, it is just easier to have a fabulous relationship with myself, and I don't think I'm making an excuse, but it could be the chances of meeting someone who is as strong as I am on the outside and soft on the inside without looking like the pretty boy. Dr. Pat Allen tells me that I'm better off, not really being who I am at the beginning, and sort of downplaying who I am, and that I've heard from others, men who are strong are looking for not me. They're looking for someone who will fit better with them, and I respect that. And so for me, maybe I don't believe that it's possible, and that's playing into it. But even if I believe that it's possible, just not trusting my own skills
Yeah.
in trying to make that difference. So that being said,
I'm going to guess, Dr. Marissa, you said something so important that, you hate arguing, and I'm wondering, and for good reason, I'm going to guess that you have a really good reason to hate arguing. And by the way, nobody really loves arguing, even people that love a good, healthy debate. When it comes into romantic relationships and it comes to something very personal, nobody likes having their feelings, their emotions argued with. And even if you're somebody who generally likes arguing, fighting sucks. It really does. It's really hard. It's really painful. And especially if you've been in a relationship where when you guys did have conflict, it led to not feeling heard, not feeling understood, maybe feeling run over.
No, we had no conflict because neither one of us liked conflict. So we had no make-up sex, no, there was never, because it was so uncomfortable.
Then you have the other.
When I see people, when I see people, I've never liked healthy debate. I hate that term. There's no such thing for me as a healthy debate.
Mm-hmm. Well, when people aren't healthy and they don't know how to debate in a healthy, respectful way, that's exactly the point. So you might have two extremes. Is you have people who come together and there's like a lot of fire between them, and that can feel really painful. Or you have two people who come together and they don't fight. And I've had a lot of couples who think the opposite, that health is measured by how little you fight. And I'm like, no. I have couples who come in and the problems in their relationship is not defined by conflict. They don't get into a lot of conflict. And that's part of the problem, is because when they're not in conflict, they're also not talking about issues that are important because they're both conflict averse. And then both people end up kind of getting more separate and going off on different paths. And then this chasm between the two of them, this space and distance in closeness and connection starts to widen and widen until they're so far apart that it's like, wow, what happened to our relationship, right? Like, yeah, we didn't fight, but we also didn't get close. There's always an opportunity for closeness and understanding each other in conflict, but I get conflict is scary. There's a lot of reasons to not like it. It makes so much sense. But the opposite of, health isn't, oh, we never fight, so that must mean our relationship is really healthy. No, it's, can we fight in a respectful way? And even better, if we do fight, can we repair with each other? And that's where a lot of couples get stuck, is they can fight, but all they do is fight and fight and fight, and they don't repair. And they don't repair. And they don't learn anything from the fights, and they don't repair. And that's where a lot of the damage is.
Mm-hmm. That totally makes sense. So I forgot to ask you, my last question that I ask my guests is, to who or what are you most grateful for?
To who or am I most grateful for? Gosh. There's a lot that I'm grateful for. But maybe I'm going to take this kind of an interesting answer, or maybe it's not going to feel so interesting. So Dr. Sue Johnson, she was the woman who pioneered emotionally focused therapy. That's a model of counseling that I use. I'm also certified in it. I'm a supervisor. I help teach other therapists how to do it. But I love Sue. She fought through a lot of adversity to get to where she was, to create something that was different, that was ahead of the game. She really was a pioneer, and she had to fight to get where she was. And I have so much respect for her that she didn't give up. And I felt like she offered a path to redemption. The model that she has is based in attachment science, and to be able to sit in her model and feel like my humanity was redeemed, that somebody sees me and that I'm not this, pathological being, that I'm actually a human being who just wants to be loved, felt so amazing. And really learning what she had to offer changed my life. It changed the way that I see people that come to me in my practice as clients. It changes the way that I see just fellow human beings that I interact every day on a everyday level. And it fundamentally changed my own heart and how I do relationship. And I wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't have grown and kind of transcended to the level that I have without her work. So she's helped me be able to have finally the healthy, secure love relationship that I've always wanted, not only to find a healthy, secure partner, but to also be a healthy, secure partner. And I know not everyone can become a therapist. Like, they say in grad school, becoming a therapist causes divorce because one of you grows exponentially and the other doesn't. And I was like, no, and I grew up in a religious household, didn't believe in divorce. So I was like, I'm the poster child for not getting divorced and it's going to be great. And then, boy, someone came along, popped a hole in that balloon. And there was a lot of shame and self-judgment that I dealt with. But, ultimately I was able to help that in my work and inform what I do with couples because we all struggle, right?
Mm-hmm. And, so that's why your marriage broke apart, is when you were in grad school for therapy?
After when I became, so through the process of becoming a therapist and then training as an EFT therapist, I just grew and grew and grew. And there were issues and I invited my partner to work on it. And my previous spouse really was an amazing, wonderful man. And it sucks that it didn't work. There was a lot of grief in that process because there was a lot of hope in that relationship and a lot of plans forever. So it really was painful.
Did you have kids with him?
No, we didn't have kids. But I am thankful for Sue Johnson because she really taught me what it means to have secure attachment. And that has fundamentally just changed my life. It helped me know that I deserve to be in a relationship with secure attachment, but also that I need to do the work. And they teach us this as therapists, but I found that a lot of therapists have issues that they're not working on, which to me is really frightening.
Really?
Yeah, they're supposed to. I mean, that's actually one of our ethics as a supervisor, as a therapist, whether you're a social worker, a licensed professional counselor, whatever.
It's really amazing.
You have an ethic in your code of conduct that says you've got to be congruent. It means do the work, walk your talk. So she really gave me hope. She gave me redemption. She taught me also how to embody that myself, how to be a good partner to somebody else and embody secure attachment. And being secure in a relationship that your partner's not going to leave you or cheat on you or abuse you or use drugs or cheat on you is not the same as having secure attachment. Very different things. But ultimately, she helped transform me and become a really healthy person. And it's amazing. My life is so different because of it. And what I thought going into grad school about being a healthy person, what I thought I knew about being a healthy person from self-help books was far different than what it actually means to be a healthy person. So I'm really thankful for her. Because of her, I'm a better human being. I'm not a perfect human being by any means, but I am a better human being. I'm willing to look and examine myself. And I know how to have better relationship, and I have a better relationship now because of what she taught me. So
well, you're a lovely person, and you're definitely a good commercial for that kind of therapy. I'm going to have to look into it. But I'll ask you point blank, is there hope for me now that you've heard the whole story? Because I've really become okay. Like, I joke that I do everything once, marriage, divorce, and that I really don't need another relationship, or I don't want another relationship.
Sure. Well, and look, I want everyone to know that it's never too late to have the love story that you want. And I am sorry that you have been hurt to the point where it's like, I don't know if I can do this thing, because literally we as a species are neurologically, physiologically, psychologically hardwired for attachment, for relationships. Our species would not survive if we did not bond and attach, basically have relationship with one another. That said, though, I think it's really good to be in a place where you enjoy being you and you enjoy being with you, because what that means is you're not going to accept people into your life that hurt you. You're not going to bargain down your value to get someone in the door, which is what I see people do all the time when they're not secure with themselves. It's like, you may be the Hope Diamond, but you're trying to sell yourself to somebody who doesn't value diamonds. Maybe they value opals, right? Suddenly now they kind of see themselves as, well, maybe I'm not worth what a Hope Diamond should be worth because this person doesn't want to buy it. And I really want this person to buy it, or I'm afraid no one's going to want to buy it. So I start offering.
We don't have that problem.
Discounts. Exactly.
No, we don't have that problem at all.
And it's like, if you are the Hope Diamond, I want people, again, this isn't a narcissistic thing. This is a security thing, knowing who you are, what you have to offer, right? That yes, we all have flaws. We do have things we need to work on and improve, and we can admit when we're wrong and apologize, take ownership. But that I don't have to lower my value or my boundaries to get someone in the door. I don't have to offer you a coupon or a discount to get you to love me or be in relationship with me. Because the moment I do that, do you think somebody who paid $20 for that $4 million diamond is going to maintain that $4 million diamond at the $4 million level or at the $25 level?
Well, I don't see the possibilities of someone in the market for my diamond, because of all my BS belief systems. So I just wanted to hear from you that there's hope.
There is hope. There is hope. And look, this is the other thing that I have a special niche, and I'm hoping to be coming out with technically it'd be my second book, or technically it'd be my third book actually, but I do want to come out with another book for those who, look, if you're extraordinary, your dating pool is already going to be small, right? Dr. Marissa, you are extraordinary. You offer things to other people that not everyone has to offer. And so by proxy, the pool of eligible people who function at your level, who can keep up, who are in the same place in life and have the same personal development as you is already going to be smaller. It doesn't mean that there's no hope. It just means that to be extraordinary, you have to date extraordinary, and it wouldn't be extraordinary if it was common, right? So it sucks that your pool is a lot smaller, but are they out there? Yes. It just means you might have to be a little bit more patient until you find it. But if you keep yourself open, you will find it. But again, don't be so open that you're bargaining or discounting your value. And I'm saying this to the listeners because I know Dr. Marissa that you have good boundaries, and you have a solid sense of self. So it's like, I don't need to bargain down my value. I know my value, and I don't need someone to say, "Oh, I'll give you $100 for that $4 million diamond." Oh, I'm a $4 million diamond. You just got to wait till the right buyer, right? Not every person can afford a $4 million diamond, and you are that $4 million diamond.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. And it's funny because I think the universe manifested, because we've been trying to have this interview for months, right? Because of schedules. Yeah. And I just asked last week, I asked my friendly universe, is relationship something that I really even want to have on the table? So isn't it interesting that I asked that question, and it sounds like you're answering my question. So there is hope. And this is a show about hope and happiness.
And Dr. Marissa, I wonder how many of your listeners are sitting here in your very shoes asking the same thing. Is there hope for me? Maybe I've written it off, right? Because I've been burned, because of this, because of that, right? You've not written it off or lost hope because you've had all these positive experiences, right? You've gotten to this place because you've had a lot of pain. And so I want people to know, if anything, I want them to walk away with hope that it is not the end of your love story. It doesn't have to be. You just might have to be patient.
Oh, and when people say thank you for being patient, I look over my shoulder to see who they're talking to. So we'll give that a try.
It's so hard to do, right?
But thank you so much. I absolutely see you as a conduit for a message for me. Because my joke is, people ask me all the time, do you have a boyfriend? Are you open to being married again? Do you want another relationship? And my response has been if I can find someone, and I don't even like saying find, if there is someone out there who treats me better then I treat myself, then we'll talk. And it sounds a little narcissistic, and it sounds full of myself.
Sounds healthy.
But,
it sounds healthy. And the thing I was thinking when you said that is that, except a lot of people out there aren't very good at taking care of themselves. So I'm glad that you take good care of yourself, and I wish more people would take better care of themselves.
Yeah. Well, when you gave me the exceptional speech, I definitely, you are my number one commercial for relationships.
Well, I'm glad. And you are extraordinary. You wouldn't be where you are if you weren't.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I wish you the very best.
Thank you so
It was
much.
a blast. And if you have finished working with a guy that you think might be a good match, throw him this way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for all of those tips. I will try to take them to heart. But I'm absolutely knowing that I do want to be loved. And if I'm going to be loved, I'm going to have to do all those things. But thank you so much, Dr. Belle, for coming on. As I do at the end of every show, if you would do this with me, it's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my living room with Dr. Anabelle, Dr. Belle. And her Asian Oprah giveaway today is a copy of her book. So the first person to go to drmarissa.life and say, what would you like as your keyword?
Relentless Empathy.
Relentless Empathy will get a copy of her book. And reminding you to have the best day ever.